Colombia's FARC rebels have handed in more than 8,000 weapons as part of a United Nations supervised disarmament process that concluded Tuesday. The former fighters have also turned over 1.3 million pieces of ammunition. The UN removed the final shipment of weapons from a demobilization camp in Fonseca, La Guajira province. President Juan Manuel Santos was on site to mark the occasion. We just witnessed something truly historic. It's the last breath of this conflict that lasted 53 years. When we see the last container go down this path, it's truly the final stage of the abandonment of weapons. Some 7,000 FARC rebels have demobilized since Santos agreed a peace accord with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia last year. Now starts the verification by the United Nations, and the FARC's reincorporation into the political, economic and social life of the country begins. The peace deal grants the group 10 unelected seats in Congress until 2026. It also offers amnesty to most of the former fighters. Rebels convicted of human rights violations will avoid prison and instead perform community service.
President Donald Trump has once again blamed both sides for the violent unrest in Charlottesville, refusing to single out either white supremacist demonstrators or the anti-fascist protesters who opposed them. The leader has stirred controversy for refusing to immediately condemn neo-Nazism in the wake of the clashes in Virginia that left one dead and several injured.
I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have, you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch.
Trump also decried the tearing down of a statue of Confederate leader Robert E. Lee, an act which sparked much of the tension in Charlottesville. He said the crowds of right-wing protesters protecting the statue had included many fine people.
Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner.
David Duke, a former imperial wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, thanked President Trump for condemning what he called leftist terrorists. However, U.S. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer criticized Trump for dividing and not uniting the U.S. in the wake of the violence.
Air Berlin, Germany's second biggest carrier, has filed for bankruptcy protection. After years of heavy losses, its key shareholder, Etihad Airlines, has announced it's withdrawing its funds. But the firm's flights will be able to remain in the air for at least 3 months thanks to a €150 million bridging loan from the German government. Germany's economy minister said the move will allow Air Berlin to negotiate a rescue package for its 7,200-strong staff.
Und damit gewährleisten wir, dass der Flugbetrieb für die nächsten Monate aufrechterhalten werden kann.
Lufthansa has already leased crewed planes from Air Berlin to provide flights by its Eurowings budget airline and has made no secret of its interest in taking on more of Air Berlin's business. Britain's most advanced and biggest warship, HMS Queen Elizabeth, is continuing its sea trials off England's Isle of Wight. The 65,000-ton aircraft carrier, which measures 280 meters and can travel 500 miles a day, set sail in June from Rosyth Dockyard in Fife, where it was built. It took 8 years to build HMS Queen Elizabeth. The ship was scheduled to be fully operational by 2020, but that date may now be as late as 2026 because of technical difficulties.
The President of Sierra Leone has launched an appeal for international help after mudslides and floods have devastated parts of the capital, Freetown. The death toll has risen to 400 confirmed dead with 600 missing, and the emergency services are overwhelmed and struggling to cope. This rescue worker says, "We, the rescue team, are finding it difficult at the moment. The cars, the ambulances which we are using are not enough to rescue people." The morgue is said to be inundated with bodies covered in mud and stacked to the ground. The president who visited the site pleaded for urgent support, saying entire communities had been wiped out. This rescue worker said,
I saw the hills on the top of the mountain here, that is the Sierra Leone Peninsula Mountains, coming down like a fire. It was like a thunder when the storm was coming, like a tornado.
3 days of heavy rains caused a section of the hill to slide in the Regent district, home to more than 1 million inhabitants. Shanty towns clinging to the hills or to the coastline have been swept away by mudflows and devastating torrents of water.
The Libyan Coast Guard intercepted a humanitarian rescue ship in the Mediterranean on Tuesday, threatening to open fire on the crew if they did not sail to Tripoli. The boat, belonging to the Spanish NGO Proactiva Open Arms, was conducting a training exercise in international waters when staff noticed a Libyan ship approaching them. On the ship's radio, a member of the Coast Guard boat's crew can be heard telling aid workers that they were being taken into custody and ordering them to sail towards Tripoli. The voice then threatens the group, saying if they don't follow orders, they will be targeted. Our boat, the Golfo Azuro, was doing some rescue training 27 miles off the Libyan coast on Tuesday in international waters. Suddenly the crew saw a Libyan Coast Guard patrol approaching them at full speed. Then the threats started coming through the radio. They asked if our boat had authorization from Libya to be in the area, but our staff insisted that they were in international waters and that the Libyan Coast Guard had no jurisdiction. They tried to force our crew to follow them to the port at Tripoli and obey their orders. They said if the crew did not comply with their orders, they would shoot them. After an hour and 40 minutes, they told us to leave the area and that we should not return again, or otherwise they would shoot us. This is the latest in a string of incidents between rescue workers and Libyan authorities that illustrate the heightened tensions on the Mediterranean Sea. The increasing hostilities have led a number of NGOs to suspend their migrant rescue operations in the region.
Greece is seeking assistance from its European neighbours after a third day of battling wildfires. The blazes started in Kalamos, a holiday coastal town 45 miles northeast of the capital. They have since spread to 3 more towns, burning thousands of hectares of pine forest. A state of emergency has been declared in the area. Due to the scale and intensity, it has asked for aerial assistance. Cyprus has offered 60 firefighters, but France is said to have turned down the request for 2 aircraft as it is dealing with its own wildfires. 3 firefighting planes and 6 helicopters have been assisting 210 firefighters on the ground near the town of Kapandriti. On Zakynthos, an island popular with foreign tourists, a dozen fires burned for a 5th day.
E deporte ta sigue depois de espaço comercial na continuação.